The Gilmore Girls, A Year in a Life special has come to an end. We're talking about summer and fall, and we have some stuff to say. Let's get this show on the road.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That music, that's a cheer. Let's start this out on a cheering mood, guys. We're back, Gilmore Girls after show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about the episodes Summer and Fall, episodes 3 and 4 of the new Year in a Life storyline. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson. And I have my lovely panel back again. We only waited 2 days because we couldn't wait. There's literally, if I wasn't able to talk about it. Oof. All right, so let's start. Let's go, Marisa Serafini. Where can everyone keep up with you?
Hello, everyone. You can follow me on Twitter at SeraphiniTV.
And I'm Hayley O'Connor. You can find me on Twitter at Hayley O'Connor. That's Hayley with 2 Y's.
Just do it.
If you don't use 2 Y's, you're not 2 Y's.
There it is. All right, yeah, I have a lot to say, and there's a lot to unpack in these episodes. I want to start out like last episode. We started out with like just talking about like some like how we came to the show and all that. So I thought we'd do something similar. Before we even get to what happened in these episodes, I want to know, like, just so we know before we get in where everyone was coming from. At the end of the original run of the show, where were you guys in terms of the biggest question that everybody needed to know the answer to? Who do you ship Rory with?
Yes.
You go first.
Just yes.
You go first. Yes.
I was always a team Jess. Always. I think because, yes, he's quiet and mysterious and he had a mood when he was a teenager, but he was a teenager, you know, and he's grown up, he's matured. He's a great family man. He's great to Luke. He could be a great father. He always understood Rory in a way that, like, no one really could. He was a great listener, and he gave great feedback and, like, always supported her in everything. And he's a big reader. I just think he was just so good for Rory this whole time. And he's always been there. He's technically kind of family now. But, I mean, we'll get into that. But I was always a team Jess because I think Jess just understood her in a way and let her be Rory.
What about you, Hayley?
Well, since if we have to pick of the existing options, I would also pick Jess. I do like Jess out of the 3 people I guess we would choose from, Logan, Jess, or Dean, I guess, but Dean's not really on anybody's list at the current point, I would assume. He's off the market, but I do like Jess, and you made some good points. Like, I like him for those reasons, and he's hot, so that's part of it. But yeah, you know, the sort of like bad boy thing, it did make more sense maybe when she was a teenager, and before this Year in the Life started, my real thought was like, and I know they can't do it because of the fan base, but my real desire was that they would introduce someone new. I guess they did, Paul. But...
You and I are on the exact same page. I was after the show. I was team new guy.
Yeah, anybody who would make sense.
Strongly dislike Logan.
Yeah.
Dean, I'm sort of just ambivalent to because I'm like you're a person, Marisa.
You did it.
Your phone. You're a person. But, like, and he's a nice guy, but, like, ultimately I just thought it was wrong.
Yeah, you outgrow him.
Jess, like, I think was a good guy for her, but I wanted her to move forward, not backwards. Again, like, I think we're on the same page. Like, of the 3 of them, Jess.
Obviously, yes.
And not just because he's Peter Petrelli. But... that's sort of where I came into the show, like hoping we would find a new guy and not Paul. I was excited when he showed up.
Yeah.
I was excited when they potentially introduced.
Nerd. Sure,
I was excited when they introduced the possibility of a geek that she might have been hooking up with
exactly.
Wookiee guy, but we never even met him. But yeah, so that's where we all were coming into the show.
Yeah.
Now let's break down these episodes and see how that changes between now and as we finish this 1 year up.
Well, I wanted to say, just some of our fellow fans, I noticed after our last show, like, it seems like we all kind of hate Logan in here, but not everybody does.
No, not everyone
I was
does.
kind of glad to see that. Like, it's not just this universally hated character,
I even saw a tweet like right before we came in from I'll just do a shout out. Stormy Woods on Twitter at Southern Siren said, "As a Logan fan, I was pissed about how they treated him."
Interesting. Yeah.
How
okay.
they treated him.
Okay.
Well, but like that's the thing. Like everybody has their has what
yeah.
they think, and like I wasn't a fan of like, to me the big thing with Logan was when he interacted with Jess. I thought that was, yes, he was drunk, yes, he was a dumb kid, but that is to me that was such a telling thing about who you are as a person, and like how you behave around somebody who like threatens like your status quo is a big revealer of who you are. Because Jess wasn't like doing anything. He didn't like mac on Rory. He was just there. Mm-hmm. And him being there caused Logan to get like violent and angry.
I think that also showed like insecurity issues and obviously being threatened by previous relationships, and that just shows like how much, yes, Logan cares for Rory, but I think it's just something that he couldn't give back to Rory in the way that Jess did. And I think it just showed a lot about him. He was a kid. He was stupid. He was insecure. And maybe he wasn't sure about his relationship with Rory at the time.
Yeah, Logan cares for Rory, but
anyway,
on a long list of ladies he cares about, I think. So
we could keep talking about this for the whole show, but we've got other things to discuss. Let's start with Summer, and we'll keep going with talking about Rory. Because Rory is in a rut.
She is.
As they put it. A little I think like autobiographical stuff coming from Amy Palladino, who has had like a couple shows since Gilmore Girls, but like writers do all get into a rut. It's just the way that it happens. And so they introduce pretty quickly the plot line of the Stars Hollow Gazette.
Yeah, which initially I was excited, like, that's great, makes sense. I mean, obviously, hometown, we probably want her to branch out ultimately beyond her hometown, but that's great, and I liked it. And, you know, even in the 2 earlier episodes, they set up, every time they mentioned the newspaper, they set up the poem on the front page of every edition, and, like, first thing she does, she gets in there and axes the poem.
Yep.
I mean, like
even she liked it. Like, what? Why?
I liked it how it was a good device to maybe get Rory out of her funk and like just keep her motivated, keep her doing something that's kind of that's still in her realm of her career.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm just sad it didn't go anywhere from that.
Yeah.
That's to me like the whole show, because now we've watched it all. So spoilers for all of it. But one of the things that frustrated me the most in the show is that I felt like Rory isn't Rory. Like the way she's behaving, like occasionally she'll show glimpses of it, but this is not how an intelligent journalism student, like the intelligent, hardworking journalism student that we knew at the end of the show, like who ran the Yale Daily News.
Yeah.
Like that's not this person. Like little things like in the last episodes, like we never addressed what happened with the Lines article.
Yeah,
that really bothered you.
No, it did. It did from a writing standpoint, because it was a major plot point.
It was
this
the whole
Condé Nast meeting that she was going to have. She like the thing with Sandy Says didn't work out.
Yeah.
The like her other projects weren't working out. She had like an article in the Atlantic that got shut down. Like all this stuff that like she was close but didn't get there. This was like the big thing. We spent half an episode with her going out on this, and she behaves as poorly as a journalist. Like she like finds people in line that aren't waiting for anything and ignores it. And instead of making that like the focal point of your article, that like, what is the psychology of these people that didn't even know what they like. And so, okay, she has to hit rock bottom. to get back. I just was confused why we never even got a line about like, well, they GQ passed.
Who cares?
on
Yeah,
lines.
yeah.
But like, so Stars Hollow Gazette is sort of her rock bottom way, her way past rock bottom. Like she's back.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I felt like a lot of these storylines of her and her career we're trying to see her go somewhere. I think it just like once the book came into her life and that idea, everything else kind of fell through. But it's just a writing and wrapping up stories that audience that we're conditioned to just like tie it up. Let us know how you concluded that so we can actually move on. Rather than, yes, this book is a great thing in her life, but we can actually put the cap on X, Y, and Z so she can do this book.
Yeah.
I think it's just the inconclusiveness of already set storylines of a half an episode and we didn't get anywhere. And also, even with the Stars Hollow Gazette, they set it up. She's working on a outdated, antiquated system. So it's literally going back in time to start forward and move forward. But it's just upsetting that that really didn't go anywhere either, other than that 1 week issue that we saw published.
Yeah. Well, like she's still doing it in the fall, right?
Is she? Did it? Was there another mention of it in the last one?
Yeah, she's still there.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's still in the fall.
So she's been doing it. Like
Okay.
she's kept it
For
going.
these months.
The no money thing. It's like, wait, they have to pay you something. I think legally.
Well, it might be a free publication, right?
Well, you see,
Nobody buys them.
Taylor makes a point of saying they're operating in the black. Although I guess like if it's free, they make their money from ads to pay for printing.
yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, the people working, like the two, Esther and I forget what his name was.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. We woke Charlie.
We wrote Charlie. Again. Esther and Charlie.
That was cute. But while we're there, hanging out at the Stars Hollow Gazette, Jess came back
Aw, Jess.
with like the exact same hair.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, what? I'm okay
funny.
with that. And he still looks like clean cut. He looks great. He's
Jacked.
still reading books.
He is jacked.
Oh, yeah. He's in shape.
He looks great.
Got him on Milo.
Did I mention he looks great?
I loved how, I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if you two noticed, but like they never hugged. It was just like meeting up and reuniting, but like never really physically getting like.
Huh.
I'm
attention to
wondering
each other.
because I did notice that, but I feel like, especially based on where the whole everything ended, I'm wondering if we're supposed to assume they have spent more time with each other that
been
we didn't
4
see
years.
off screen. No, but even in this time period that we're in, I wonder if since hanging out at the Stars Hollow Gazette that they also kept spending time together while he's in town.
They mentioned that they have seen each other, I think, a couple years ago.
4 years ago.
So they have seen each other since the show went
Right.
off,
Right.
in that span, but they don't see each other regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
I really liked Jess giving her the idea for like writing about like her story. This rang so true to me because I think what we were talking about, what you guys said before, like Jess knows her and like knows like what she's capable of and sort of how to like move her ahead, which is what a true partner and like a friend, like regardless of whether it's a romantic thing or not, a true friend knows exactly how to move you ahead in your life. And that's what Jess did. He was just like, all I needed to say was like one
I wanted
thing.
more Jess, more.
Yes.
That's from Dark Angel Valo in the chat roll. Thank you.
I agree.
Although this is interesting because Ines Ibrahim says, I never was Team Jess, but in these episodes, I thought he's too good for Rory.
Oh yeah, Rory has dropped.
Jess has come a long way.
Yeah,
I actually
certainly.
here's the other thing is like through these episodes, like the way that everyone behaves, I feel like the only people who are just like good people from start to finish were Luke and Jess.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
great.
Everyone
Great
else-
genes, good family.
Everyone else is like kind of mean to people at certain points or like selfish, but Luke and Jess are just like, no, I'm like, we're here to help people.
Yeah, we're the
And
helpers.
I think that's the great thing about those two characters. Like, they have been the most consistent throughout these seasons.
Yeah.
Like, when we came back into the revival, Luke never changed. at all. His personality didn't
Oh my
change.
God, yeah.
His viewpoints on life never changed. His lifestyle, how he lives, never changed.
He is a little
he's
bit.
a very consistent guy.
He is a little bit more involved, I think, in the community, like the floaty hut
Yeah,
thing that we
right.
got. And
Yes.
it's like that was the fact that he was like not only like I think even in the regular season he would have donated things. Like he was pushed back against it, like the soccer team.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the original series,
Yeah,
but
I think it was just more like his personality and who he is as a person never
it's
really
very
changed.
much the same. It's like
Well,
he grew,
which is
but
good.
he's the same guy.
I really love the bit just after Jess leaves the Gazette, and right outside the window you just see him and Luke hug, and he just takes off his hat and throws it, and it's just their little bit, and they leave, and I'm just like, they are the most likable people in town.
I loved, and we'll get into what when we get into fall. They're more of their interaction,
Still a
but in this one,
contender.
you're still. I loved her pulling out the whiskey.
They're so
Yeah.
good.
Like from the desert, I'm like, if that's really been in there that long, that's some real good scotch.
yeah.
He did.
I'm
Goodness
just
me.
like, I'm looking at that like, I want that. I need a scotch. Yeah, but so I thought that the idea of the book was great. I think maybe she should have gone fiction instead of nonfiction, because like just that, even if you're telling the same story, that little difference in wording may have prevented what happened when she brought up the idea to Lorelai at the end.
Yeah.
But if you think like if Rory did go fiction, I don't think that'd be Rory, because everything that she writes is journalism. It's about real people and real stories. So like for her to go fiction, I think it would be out of her character.
But on the other side of it, like, what is
It
it?
would've
Like,
been
who's
better.
reading a nonfiction book about a person you've never heard of from a small town? Like, it can be a great
all the
story, but like, I don't really care to read a nonfiction story about these people. I would read a fictional story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, even if you're telling the same story,
Suspend
it
your
is-
disbelief, man.
no. Well, that's part of it. That's part of like, look, I had some issues with these episodes and like how stuff wrapped up, and like, well, as I give those points, like part of it is that like I didn't when I watched this show, like I didn't feel like I needed to have a suspension of disbelief that much. Like this is not a show, like occasionally it gets silly, but it's very grounded, and it behaves more or less like the real world as much as a TV show can.
right.
And so like I get these writers, I trust them, and so like when something doesn't read right to me, I'm not gonna be shy about it.
All right.
But I love the idea of her writing a book and like how excited she gets.
Yeah.
She's like reinvigorated about her career.
Yeah.
Yes. Wrote it 13 in the live chat. Thanks, guys. They said Jess is the reason Rory went back to Yale, and now he's the reason Rory is writing a book.
Because Jess
So
is
he
the
is
best
great,
one of the
but-
three.
Exactly.
But yes, of the three, sure. But also, it's like a little troubling that Rory needs a guy to like, here's what you should do.
No, I don't-
Here's what you should do, little lady. I'm a little over that as like,
No, I
you
didn't
know,
even
a lady.
see it as a problem being from male. You know, I didn't see gender issues in this whatsoever. I thought it was like one person to another person helping a person get through life. Like,
Yeah.
I think we all need that.
I didn't see it as I mean, that is there. Like you can't completely ignore it. But I think it was just like this is the person who she connects with.
Yeah.
Regardless
And
of
I like
gender
him,
and
so
regardless
I'm
of
just-
romantic entanglements.
Yeah, because if you
But-
think about Lorelai, her mother, who's a female, has gave her all these great recommendations. Oh, talk to this person for a job interview. Talk to this person, X, Y, and Z. It's just like, it doesn't matter what ish gender they are. It's just whoever's actually going to help her to move forward in life.
Yeah. I mean, sort of like no person is an island.
That's
Like,
right. I know.
But like, you know, we all need like just in our lives, like we always lean on people.
That's right.
so-
Okay.
No,
you guys.
I'm just saying like, but Jess like. It was good to see him back. I think he was
Yeah,
spot
he was-
on
he
to
was
like
great.
the
He was
character
so
and
good.
how he's grown. And yeah, we'll come back to this
Yes,
once we get
yes.
into fall. Lorelai is dealing with some stuff.
Lorelai's dealing with some stuff.
She's got like a whole bunch of weird things happening.
Yes.
Michelle is like
Is
potentially
leaving.
to go to the W.
That's okay. Like he, you know, is a side character maybe, but he needs some growth, and he's given them what 16 years or more of working. Like,
He's been at the Dragonfly for I think 12 years, right?
and
Dragonfly
then they
opened in
worked
season
together
5.
at
Season 5.
the Independence Inn before that for years. So he time to move on, sure. Like, give him some growth.
But
even
like
12
even his,
years,
yeah,
like that
even
was a
his
step
reasoning
up.
for leaving
Yeah.
are very valid. Like
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
he's expanding his family. He's having a kid. He just needs more financial stability, which is all great points of why people just leave a job for bigger opportunities. Like, and then it actually might be better for Michelle. And I like that one scene where he's like being charming to the kids, and I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it shows the audience that he has the potential to be a great leader, a great person, and a great manager too. So it makes sense his character is capable to move on to something as big as the W.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, he's kind of a dick to people, but, like, I feel like the W is, like, all about that.
Yeah, he was perfect for him.
Yeah. I've never stayed in a
Sponsored by
W.
the W.
Yeah. Hey, the W, if you want to prove me wrong and you give me, like, a free night, I will gladly,
The W is a great hotel, which is a fancy hotel, just for all those who don't know what the W is. Fancy.
But so in addition to that, like, I loved their, like, breakup scene in the secret bar.
Yeah.
That was great. I'm glad we actually got to see the secret bar.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I thought
That
it was
was
just
funny.
like a gag that they, but like, what it was better than I thought. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
cute.
like it's in a little enclave, and it's just like 5-0, 5-0. They even have like a trained like hoodlum on a bike to like come and do a circle around them. And I love that when they said
Taylor.
5-0, I'm like, oh, okay, so a cop car's gonna just
Nope.
Taylor taking a
walking
walk.
around.
Oh, poor Taylor.
Brilliant.
Although Taylor had his own story in this, like
The
all right,
musical?
this is one of the things that I had issue with
Same here.
in this episode because
musical?
Same
the
here.
musical was if this was a 22 episode season like the other
Yeah,
seasons of the
yeah.
show. Absolutely, they do it in an
would have
episode
this-
about the
yeah.
musical. It's just like a fun filler episode that like it gets like you have like a little bit of plot line
Yep.
moving forward around it, but like it's just a fun like silly nothing to like, but because it's fun because you get to play with some of the side characters.
Yep.
But in
They
a season where
spend-
you only have 4 episodes, effectively 8 because of the length of these,
Yeah.
you're gonna spend half an hour on this plot line that
Yeah.
doesn't go anywhere.
And we got it
was
after
actually-
the first song. Like, don't keep doing
that sequence
the song.
didn't need to be as
terrible.
long as it was. Like, you get one song in and we're like, yeah, this is
Haha,
terrible.
yeah.
You could have cut right from that to the group, and it actually I
Yeah.
think would have been even more fun to do that way. Because if you just like are hearing Lorelai describe
Yeah.
like the things that
Yeah.
we saw, like the imagination might have been painted in an even more
Right,
ridiculous
right.
picture.
I do have something to say about this musical.
Okay.
First of all, ridiculous. 10 minutes of ridiculousness. That's what I literally have in my notes.
Was
But
it actually 10 minutes long?
It was 10 minutes
long.
of just them singing.
Wow.
Of ridiculousness, of the evolution of Stars Hollow. But we did have Christian Borle and Sutton Foster, who people who don't know the Broadway world, that those two were actually married in real life, and they bonded over Gilmore Girls. They are actually true fans of Gilmore Girls.
And that's
this
great,
is
and
how
How
they
that's-
got
nice for
into it.
them, but
I
you know,
understand.
3 minutes done.
They showed the talent. They showed the talent on Gilmore Girls. It was not necessary. It did not move the plot forward. We understood that this was a ridiculous play that, again, went nowhere.
However, afterwards, so she trashes it, right? And then they do one more song, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit, like, the I Am Not Unbreakable. And I think it's a testament to Lauren Graham just being, like, the greatest. But, like, I felt a little something as they just close in on her, and it gets dark around her, and she's feeling some
that
type
was
of
the
way.
reflection
That
of
was
Lorelai.
that was a beautiful song. It was beautifully sung. I think it was
Over it.
appropriate, and like having that moment, like if that was like the whole purpose of the musical,
Yeah.
like that works for me. Like you won't, but you almost didn't need to break it up. Like you could have
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, intermission, and we'll come back, and she's like, this is terrible, and then you come back and sees that, and she's like, I ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
I do want to ask though, because it threw me off so much, and I want to know what you guys thought, because at the end of the Unbreakable song there was this really quick cut where suddenly she's alone in the theater And then they cut away.
Yeah, at the end.
What did you get? Do you think that was literal, or was that supposed to be figurative? Like everyone else disappeared in that moment?
No, I think it was literative. Like that was such a moment for her that she had to just stop and think. And she was there for so long pondering about her life and her decisions that she was going to do that everyone just up and left, and she was left alone at the theater, still left to her thoughts. So I think yes, that was on purpose. Like she was there, really thinking long and hard about what she was about to do.
Okay, that works. I mean, that makes sense to me. But it was very quick, so I thought it might have been like they're like, oh, she feels like she's alone because she's just so honed in here.
Yeah.
And that's when and we'll just do the end of this, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about Emily and some of the other pop-up characters from this episode. But that was I guess that's where she decides she needs to go wild.
Oh my God.
Which like they did thread. They had her reading it at the top when they're at the pool. With their weird when they're at the pool with their weird like servant boys.
Children.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was just thinking
local
like
boys,
child labor.
Like
that's real.
Did they
Come on.
Probably
were
not
they
even getting
paying these kids? Like I was very
sure
confused.
in soda or something. Come on, that happens.
And the fact
regular.
that they also made them deliver the newspapers as well. I'm like, why do you have these kids helping you?
Yeah,
right
they
now?
like it needed. All it needed was a one-line like explanation. Like
They're just like kids from the town that are like think it's fun.
That they're exploiting.
It's fine. I think
that's how I saw. Although I did really
All
like
right.
the Khaleesi bit.
Yeah.
That was cute. I enjoyed that. But so Lorelai is like, she goes to Luke and like she's like, I have to leave.
I think this is really dumb and out of character, if only because she's not an outdoors person, and that has been well established. Like
Yep.
needs her like pampering items of the real world, and it just doesn't. I didn't like this whole thread at all. It was just seemed like an obvious device to have a problem and then get it resolved by the end.
No, see, I saw it as a moment as like I understood just as a viewer that like she just wants to get away, challenge herself, do something out of her comfort zone to maybe find herself and find answers that she was looking to. As something as extreme and as opposite, completely opposite of what Lorelai Gilmore would ever do.
And she still
Hiking
doesn't
outside.
do it. So, like, great work.
I give her props for trying. Like, I give her props for actually, like, trying to execute what she was set out to do mentally. But, like, I just understood it as, like, she needed to do something in her life that would find answers. And this was it. As extreme as it was necessary for her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she needed, like, we all need those times where we're like, I have to change something. For, like, even for a week. Like, something has to change so that I can get perspective. I believe they call it a midlife crisis, which is exactly where Lorelai is.
Exactly
So
what
that's the other
sure.
thing is that, like, no one said those words. I wonder if that was intentional.
I think
that no
we
one wanted
got
to
it.
label it that. Well, no, but like because Luke, like, and we'll get into Fall in a second, but like Luke, when he's like freaking out, like no one like sort of says, like she's having a midlife crisis, like she'll come back around. Anyway, before we get into Fall, because like there's still some plot lines in this we need to talk about, but like Emily is like dating Ray Wise. I don't even remember his character's name.
Jack
He's
Smith.
just Ray Jack Smith.
The memorable character
That's
named
right.
Jack Smith.
That's right. Because like in my mind, he's just Ray Wise.
Yep.
He's the devil from Reaper, or the bad conglomerate guy from Agent Carter.
Twin Peaks.
So many things.
He's the villain.
Yeah.
He's always a villainous character.
Yeah, so watch out for him, Emily.
Did anyone else think when Lorelai called her mom with the story, and she's like, it's like this upward angle of her in her bed in Nantucket where you can't see the other side of the bed? I was like, oh my God, Ray Wise is about to sit up in that bed. And like, I'm pretty sure that they had it and cut it, because the fact that he's like there
is enough.
Like later, it's like, so he definitely was there.
Yeah,
they just like
yeah.
did cut the part where she's, oh, that's sweet.
Where
And
they
then he
obviously
sits up and
boned.
we're like,
Yeah.
oh! no!
You know what? I find that interesting you brought that up. I never really thought that because from the previous episode we saw Emily sleeping in till noon. I just thought she was sleeping until noon
Just in
again.
bed
It was
again.
just it was the shot angle, and there's a lot like the direction in these episodes was very different from what we've seen before. Like there's a lot of these tight shots or like slightly odd angles. Like that's what that shot said to me. It's like you don't hide the other side of the bed like that unintentionally. Like they're not showing you the other part because there's something there you're not supposed to see later.
Yep.
And they may have just cut it to save the beat, save time. It worked, but I was just like, he's totally
for it.
in that bed. But yeah, so let's April showed up.
April is miserably annoying.
You know what?
Oh, I loved April.
Oh my God.
No.
Stop
I think
talking
it literally,
forever, April.
Oh, I didn't even have her in my notes because that's how much I
I
discounted
have
her.
no patience for doesn't understand jokes. I just don't.
No,
Even as gruff as Luke is, he still cracks jokes. Like it's just like, how did he spawn this?
No, but
no, it totally worked for me.
I hate it.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great evolution of the character as she's like the character that we knew, this like super nerdy, just like book kid, like. She's wearing like the Rasta hat and but she's not even
watches German cinema.
But she's not even crunch. Like here's the thing.
Yeah,
I think every one of those things was just her attempting to find a distinctive personality, which is something that I remember a phase I remember going through in college where you're like trying to find the thing that like makes you stand out.
Which hat should I wear?
That's real. That part's very real for me.
And this is what you've chosen.
Well, this hat is just like it's my
Luke
hat. I'm wearing a backwards baseball cap, but like, I'll share this. Whatever. This was actually in high school that this started, but I wore a black sort of like half like fedora-ish like cowboy hat, not a fedora. Closer
Too
to
late. You said the fedora word.
Closer,
more like a Stetson.
It's closer to it's not quite a Stetson. It's like it's called the Outback style. But I wore a black cowboy hat for 9 years.
Wow.
Oh
do you still have it?
Let's see those.
Oh yeah, I have
photos,
like
shall we?
4.
Why'd you stop?
It was causing me to
But it's finding personalities.
go bald early. That's why I stopped, because I have a good head of hair for now. But we all like find that we latch on to certain things that we're like, oh, this like I like this like for an inexplicable reason. I'm very inexplicable.
Sure. No. So I agree with you that like great evolution for April. Yeah, it's real, but also I was glad there was not any more of her than that. Like, oh, yep, she still exists. Goodbye.
We also needed her to show up.
Yeah, just
because
to,
like Luke's like the fact that she wasn't even addressed like early on, like it was like, where's April?
No,
yeah,
she
already
was.
have a kid.
She was. We found
Loosely.
out in the earlier episodes that she was at MIT. She's doing well. She's 22. Blah blah blah. But I think like I literally have in my notes. April's back. She can leave again. But like her smoking pot, she's just trying to like figure out her
one time.
one
Trying
time
it out.
and freaking out, and then like that slow grenade bomb joke of her figuring out what gnome is. But like she didn't add anything to this story. She was.
We just needed to know she was there and alive and fine.
I think they could have used her more, because I think what she was there to do was sort of be more, and it's very similar devices like the 30-something gang, which was a cute gag. But like because it wasn't about Luke, it was about Rory. Because what we saw with April freaking out was she saw Rory when you're first coming into out of college, the thing that most freaks you out is like, what if I fail?
Yeah.
Like, what if I can't hack it and I wind up back at home like the 30-something gang,
like Rory right now,
and she's literally looking at her like stepsister, I guess she would be, going through that that, and she says it's like a postcard from the real world, like the fact that she could wind up in her old bedroom with her like I hope to go to this college stuff all over the walls. Like, ugh. Like that's freaky.
That
like
affected you.
Yeah, I mean, like because that kind of like early life crisis, if you will.
Yeah.
I think is something
Quarter
that
life
a lot
crisis.
of, especially these days, with people who don't necessarily know, if they don't know exactly what they want to do, or if they're going into a career that's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
There's a big fear about like, what if it all blows up in my face?
I mean, I get that. It was also when Rory and April were sitting on the bed, you literally saw the compare and contrast of like where these two women are in their lives. They're both lost. One's at a different age and one's at an older age. And just like, when you're in your early 20s, that's all you think about. You worry about life. You worry about who you are. I mean, I was freaking out when I was 21. I mean, I just got out of college too, and I'm like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. So April's worries were like completely relevant and relatable.
Yeah.
I get that. But we didn't need that. It didn't add to the storyline other than maybe make Rory kind of consider her life where she is.
Well,
She's
that's why I
also in
say
her
like I think we needed like another piece of it, like where it's really affecting Rory, or maybe where she's like working more directly with April, like more of it just to like really bring it home to like what it is that Rory needs to do with herself.
Yeah.
But I got what they were saying.
What can we
with the
get out
scene.
of this conversation?
Yeah. All right. Let's the 30-something gang just made me laugh.
I laughed and laughed until they introduced the parents set, who are like, we all read our kids' resumes, and I was like, if you think that the parents set, like helping you with your resume, is gonna get them a job, no, that is wrong and hateful about this age group. I think it's so incorrect.
I think there are those.
Yeah,
Parents,
but
though.
my parents are very smart people, but they wouldn't know how to get hired now. I don't think. Like,
I mean, I'd have to. That's debatable because like
Yeah.
my parents always read my resumes. My dad.
That's-
works in
I mean,
HR.
it's-
okay, I
it's
take it
different.
back.
I mean,
Okay,
but
I stand
think,
corrected.
I think it's just showing like these kids who are the same age as Rory, they're lost as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
For me, it read true because like both of my parents are in positions where they have to hire people regularly
Yeah,
or help
hire
people
and
who
fire.
have been recently hired. So they deal
so
with
they know
resumes.
it. Okay, but that's
They won't. If I don't consult them, they're like, "What do you do? Like, send me your." I'm like, I don't need to.
no,
Leave me alone.
I find it very relatable actually.
All right. So let's talk about fall.
Let's talk
Winter,
about fall.
spring, summer, and now finally fall.
Hey.
Okay, this was a better episode. I still have issues. I have big issues, but this was like a more this episode like was better as a one thing than summer. I think basically because you got the time back from the musical.
Yeah. Well, but did you with the Logan's friend sequence that went on too long and they are the worst? Like what bothers me the most about them is they're not Rory's friends. They're Logan's friends. And no matter what their relationship was, they're like his friend. Like
She
obviously
acts like they're her old
best
drinking
friends.
buddies,
Like,
and she never
even
really got along with
have
them.
that sequence with Lane, with anyone, like people who are set up as even like Dean or I don't know, that would be dumb.
People
But,
who are closer
like,
to Rory.
No, but you're right.
Yes.
Her and Lane going on an adventure. Her and
Would've
Paris
been
going on an
great.
adventure. Like, that would have been awesome to see. But I don't care about Colin,
don't care.
Finn.
And-
I don't even remember third
Third
guy's
guy?
name.
Robert.
And, like, you told me that before the show. I forgot it again.
I forgot
but
all of those guys' names.
I
I'm
remembered-
glad I was watching it with subtitles.
I remembered Colin and Finn just, like, because their names, like, have a ring.
Yeah.
But, like...
But no, and they have no redeeming qualities is the other thing. One of them's British, so that's charming,
They
but they're
haven't
like
grown.
they are
They're
shallow wealth, like nothing matters. It's so like I
They-
hated that whole sequence.
They-
Oh my god.
I thought it was a dream right up until the masks
nightmare.
came off. Yeah, like a weird nightmare, like
Yeah.
the Raven thing. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, is this the freaking like what was it, the Good Times gang? Like, what was their like their secret
yeah, yeah.
society?
I don't remember.
I know
what
it wasn't the Good Times gang.
No one cares.
But like I like this steampunk like ape thing that they show up as to do what? Help her get out of a funk? Like I know Logan knows that she's down,
Have
but
fun?
like this frustrated me because I didn't know why we rehashed what they like the Logan thing because I thought that the way that they ended it in summer
because his fiance moved in with him.
Yeah, I thought that was such a perfect
yep, this is the end.
ending for their, like, this weird fling, which, like, yeah, we were like, no, Rory, don't do that.
Well, but
I totally get why she did.
But also I think from a, like, crafting the show perspective, why they would bring Logan back again for this other episode is to make you wonder at the end of this episode who maybe it could be more than one person who is...
Could it?
Couldn't it?
Is there any doubt?
I think it could.
All right, well, let's get to that
Okay.
when we talk about the end. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, but we got to get there.
Yeah.
This sequence just felt out of place.
Too long.
Too long.
Used a Beatles song
mean-
that must have been like most of their budget. Like,
Yeah, but it was
why?
like, I get it's
Why?
high production value. We have Netflix. We kind of have a little bit more finance, so let's have some fun. It wasn't necessary.
It wasn't, and I can't even distinguish between his friends. I hate them so much. But like,
No, I couldn't tell you which one was which.
The one
Yeah.
buying the club that they're in just to like play
'Cause he was
whatever
bored.
Rosemary
That was
Clooney. Like,
literally
yeah,
his
that's just
quote.
like
I'm bored.
reestablish that these are
Rich guys.
the most hateable people. Like, there really no redeeming qualities. Nothing matters. I have money. Like,
Yeah,
awful.
is Finn's last name Drumpf? Like, what's...
Do we really care? Is the question.
No, we don't, and that's
don't,
the
and there
big
was
that's the
so much
frustrating
of it.
thing.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're like, oh, we bought this inn, and then he's like, wait, I bought an inn? Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
more just
all right. We
great.
don't need to complain about these guys. All right, because let's move on to some fun stuff that happened for Rory.
Life and
Death
Death
Brigade.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like Rory is saying, and
Yeah,
I mean,
I got the Wizard of Oz
Rory
thing,
was
but-
reminding
Wizard
us
of
that
Oz.
there was a Wizard of Oz reference, and I got that.
Yeah,
very,
but
very quickly.
that would be great if it was your friends you cared about and not
If that
Logan's
was Marty, and like if it had been like, you know who that should have been? That should have been Kristen Ritter and her friend who I don't remember. But like,
Oh yeah.
her college
friends who
her,
presumably she'd still be friends.
her actual
Boyfriend.
friends.
yeah, Paris, anyone.
Like that's what I would have loved to see. Like that sort of reunion, I think
Yes.
would have been fun. And I get that wouldn't have been this sequence.
Yeah.
But find that from these people that like they show up. Like, oh, I heard about Kristen Ritter showed up. Like it's Netflix. They have a line to her.
Just get her. Just get her off the other line.
You know her phone number.
Yeah.
Like she's in Harlem,
You
or
have
like
her
she's in Hell's Kitchen rather. Can't believe I made that mistake just now. Well, no, she might be visiting Harlem to see Luke. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. Different Luke.
No, like I agree. If it was with people who were closer to her, it would have been more impactful and effective.
And even if
For
they
us
wanted
to believe this.
even if they wanted to bring Logan back for like one more his goodbye, we just didn't need his
we
friends.
had too
didn't
much
need his
Logan.
friends. Yeah, we did have too much Logan.
Anyway, but like we did get we got Dean showing up.
Yeah.
Literally, this episode
In
had
Ghost's
all of them.
Everybody you
Yes.
wanted to put in.
Dean took a break from chasing ghosts to and the devil or whatever he's doing
I
nowadays.
really thought the exchange was funny. He says his wife's pregnant, and Rory goes again, and he's like, "It's really boring in Scranton." And then I thought to myself, and I wrote it down. Then why do you look like a fashionable vampire? Like why is he so like slick if he's in boring Scranton being a dad?
because he's not allowed to
He's
cut
in
his
Stars
hair.
Hollow right now.
The CW isn't going to let him cut his hair for a one scene appearance.
Yeah. I thought it was very fitting that it was at Dosey's Market. Because
Yeah.
it felt like, with this whole conversation, it felt like Dean was just wrapped up as a person. His storyline.
Yeah, that was fine.
Like,
That's-
they're good and civil together. She's happy for him. He's happy for her. And
Yeah, and
it
there's
felt like
there's no lasting thing. If anyone's Team Dean, I apologize, but they've like grown apart, but they're peaceful and friendly, and it's nice.
And there was
felt like a conclusion.
There was
Yeah.
a cute. I really liked the moment where she sort of like awkwardly makes like one quick little faux pas where she's like, "Well, you know how first loves are." Oh,
Yeah.
she said it.
It's like, whoops. But that was also very true to the characters. They had the cornstarch bit. They're in dozies. Like it worked. It was good. All right, let's jump over to Lorelai, because that was where this episode kicked off. Lorelai goes wild. This was like
Book version.
yeah, I appreciated that. Like the book movie, There, like to me, the equivalent is like Harry Potter fandoms. Like I am like I have people that are very staunch book people, and they're like, no, any movie version is death. I'm like, whoa.
Sure, the difference is they're not going to like run into a train platform and hope that it becomes a doorway, and all these women are like, gotta go do that thing.
I know some crazy nerds. But like this was exactly what I expect from Lorelai trying to go camping.
Sure, she fails.
Oh, yeah. Well, she tries. Like, and I'll give
fails.
her that. She actually tries. Can we talk about the park rangers? Because I love them.
Yeah, a lot of
There's-
I had a feeling you were
parenthood
gonna
alum.
get excited.
Parenthood. Because the first park ranger was Jason Ritter, who played Mark Sear, who was, Sarah Braverman's love in Parenthood. And then the second ranger, the one who asking for permits, was Peter Cross, who played Sarah Braverman's brother, Adam Braverman, on Parenthood.
Yes, they got
they're
to fight.
Actually, Peter Cross and Lauren Graham are actually real life couples. So it's
Really?
Oh, wait, which ranger? The first one?
Second
the second
ranger.
one,
The
the
second
one who was
one.
waiting for the permit.
So the one who was being mean to her is her actual like.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
actually
great to know.
That's
real
cute.
life partners.
That's cute. That's great.
So I was like, yeah, you two would show up on this show.
So they got to
I
bicker.
love it. I mean, I love it, and obviously, I did Parenthood After Show. Check
Yep.
it out here on AFTERBUZZ TV.
Yeah, that was great. Just like seeing her have to go through this, like I sort of was really hoping that like it was going to be like the storm is coming, and she's like, no, I've got
I'm
this,
gonna
and
do
she
it.
just
Yeah,
goes,
nope.
and then we see her like
Dead.
Oh my god, like running
Yeah.
back, like abandoning the pack and just running back to the motel and leaving. But I think instead of that, what we got was actually one of my favorite moments from the episode was like, and we talked a little bit about it, but like when she goes and she like is like, I just need coffee because this day has been a massive failure, and she like tries to get coffee. The place is clearly closed. The local equivalent of Luke's,
Yep,
not
yep.
open. And she winds up in this beautiful vista.
Yeah, she finally hikes about 6 steps
Yeah.
and makes it to a vista.
More than enough, apparently.
Yeah, for Lorelai, that's a lot of
it's okay.
hiking.
She accomplished something.
And she lives in Connecticut. It's pretty flat.
Have you ever been there?
To Connecticut?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Wow,
from
I'm
the
just saying.
Northeast. Like, I grew up 10 minutes from Connecticut. But this was like the story that she calls her mom
her
with.
calling her mom was great, and I kind of really didn't like this whole thread for her, but it did kind of bring it around for me when she calls Emily, and just also because Lauren Graham is a great actress, and
Yeah.
I felt like, oh, I felt what she was saying. It was great. It was nice, and it was nice to close that loop.
Yeah,
of,
the whole like I'm leaving to Luke thing, like it was just like,
annoying.
why are we damaging this relationship again?
once again, like I said when we talked about the other ones the other day, was maybe if they had been together, like they've been together 9 years, like what it is after 9 years, like you have established your common law married after 7 years, so like,
Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah, it's true.
And
After 7.
and so I just feel like if the story had continued, maybe this would have made sense earlier in their relationship. Not like you've established a thing and you are, established. I don't know. But
Right.
anyway, but I did like her call at the
I
end.
loved this call. I think this was the point in the episode where like it was kind of getting better for me as a
Yeah.
viewer. Like I was like, okay, there's hope in this episode. I really loved just the story of how she recounted a happy moment with her father, because we know she's had such a torn life with her parents. But the fact that she was so young, and this would have been that good story to
Yeah.
share when she had the opportunity to share this anecdote about her father, but it also just showed like how much Richard actually truly did love his daughter.
Yeah.
And I liked it was a bonding moment between Emily and Lorelai after all these years. Like they still again can get to that point of understanding each other. And it was just such a pivotal moment in Lorelai's life for her, and it gave me hope for that family can still love each other.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great.
Even
moment
as
for
much as
Lorelai.
they've all been through, like at the end of the day, like this is family, and they have the things that truly connect them. Yeah, I appreciate it. It was very emotional, very good performances on both sides. Even Emily, just like the reactions,
Listening,
like no words, like she was still able to convey exactly what she felt.
Not to divert it,
step.
but I loved Emily's storyline in this episode. Of
God,
her sort of-
weird. But like,
Weird?
I don't know, bad weird. I just think it was weird.
but like,
Uncomfortable weird,
but you know, I can we talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about Emily.
I really liked it. Telling off the DAR is like mad satisfying,
that
right?
was
Like
great.
that was awesome, and I was like
great.
cheering at my screen when she did it. Like, yes, about time. They've been these stuffy broads for years, and like, good on you. But it was weird. The ending was like a weird turn for her, where she ends up in Nantucket and doing these tours in the whaling place, right? But I really liked it. Like, her life was a wife of Richard, right? And she needs to find her own thing, and I really it was weird, but I really liked what they gave her. Like, it was
I
awesome.
see it as like her being like working at a museum. I don't know about the tour guide part, but like I totally saw
intense.
her
Well,
with a museum like that
What's
on
kind of
Nantucket.
funny, yeah. Well, what's kind of funny is, like, you know, she would make these comments when Lorelai is like talking a mile a minute and referencing all these things, and it's like, oh, that mouth or whatever. But she has some of that like campy theatrical quality too. She just always kept it down a little bit, you know, and for DAR and whatever, being the poised hostess, but for this, like, she can let it out a little. I liked it a
was
lot.
cute.
I enjoyed it because it was a different side of Emily that we haven't
Yeah.
really seen. Because all these years and all these seasons, we've seen her as such an uptight kind of person. This was like really the first time we actually saw her relax and breathe. She's doing something that makes her happy. She's finding herself on her own. Like, moving on, yes, it's different. It was a little weird, but it was more so we're just not used to seeing Emily like that. And I'm glad she had that moment to just unwind.
Yeah.
Like, she's not as uptight anymore. And the fact that she's also helping Lorelai, not to jump ahead, but also helping Lorelai without, like, all these X, Y, and Z's. You have to do this and this and this for me. And, like, she's letting go of things. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah. No, you guys have brought me around on it.
You didn't like it.
I wasn't sure what to think when I was. I think it was also that like it was around some stuff that I had mixed feelings about.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of so like left turn for the character.
Yeah.
She's like if you trace her from like pilot to like this now, like she is now
Unrecognizable.
living on Nantucket with a family of.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh,
The-
that
the
she,
Burns
the
family.
family's still weird to me, but
The
like
main
that she
thing never
cannot
resolves, yeah.
understand. It did make sense that she's moving out of the house.
Yeah, totally.
And it was like the right thing for like the end of the series.
Yeah. And it's way too much space for one person. It's a huge
Yeah,
house.
it was way too much
Humongous
space for
house.
two people.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, at least it was because they were entertaining regularly, and she's not doing that anymore.
Right.
She's like, F you to the DAR.
So good.
And she's basically saying like bye to any social obligations. Like she's not letting herself be obligated to anybody but herself anymore. She's like, she wants to live on Nantucket. She's gonna live on Nantucket.
Great.
All right, so let's get back to let's go back to Rory. As they Lorelai and Rory, because like as they're getting ready for the wedding, because Lorelai shows back up and she's like, Luke,
Yes.
we're gonna get married. I like this exchange where Luke's like, here's all the reasons. Like, no, don't. I have to talk first.
I thought it was great, and I'm glad he got to hear. We got to hear his say, and
Yeah.
definitely in like the Luke manner, being like aggressive but yet passionate, but yet heartfelt as well. And that's the only way he can express his feelings if it's out of frustration.
Yeah,
and
charming.
my prediction of engagement was kind of there.
That's right.
But this is so in the vein of Luke and Lorelai, how they exchange what they're really feeling.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this, and I'm like, and they're also just self-aware. It's been so long. It's been too long since, as Lorelai said, that I'm glad we saw it.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's actually happening. They decided to get married. Yes.
And on screen, not like the Christopher wedding that was 100% just like out of like we don't need to see that happen. But yeah, I thought this was a very cute like way for them to like get engaged, and he still has the ring in a box, like very close at hand. It was great, and like I loved like when Luke is freaking out And Jessica's like, whoa, you're covered in flour. He actually gave people the Wi-Fi password.
Crazy.
I love Jess.
Up is down.
He's like, oh,
What's
you
that?
one bagel split 4 ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he just
was
like,
terrible.
you know what? Rips the Wi-Fi router out.
Brilliant.
And like and Luke's just like he's just on autopilot, just like going. And Jess is the best guy. He's the
Wow, you
like,
love Jess.
Look, I'm not even necessarily in a shipping sense, but like just of the characters, he is the best human being
Yeah.
on this show right now. Like, what does he
Most
do when he
likable
shows
human
up?
being.
Yeah, he shows up. He helps Luke deal with his stuff so that way he can he knows what he wants from Lorelai, and he is able to express it. Whether or not he needed to, he was able to express it thanks to Jess. He helps guide Rory back onto a path because she was just flailing. He just fixes things as he goes. And that's why
Yep.
he's like a
Solver.
he's a good character. But yeah, so wedding planning begins, and like how else could you really end this show but with the wedding of Lorelai and Luke? It's the right bookend, I guess. If you're gonna
It is.
if you're gonna end the show,
Yeah.
it's the right thing to go out on. Sookie.
Sookie shows up. Great entrance. So she's just squeezing the frosting everywhere. That was great. A little bit of Sookie. That was nice. I'm glad she did get to be on the show.
Gotta love Melissa McCarthy because
Yeah.
those who are fans of Gilmore Girls and were like, where the hell is Melissa McCarthy in the show? And even she put up a stink like, how come I'm not on the show? And like, I even tweeted it out a while ago. I was like, get Melissa on the show. I mean, granted, she blew up after Gilmore Girls, to be obvious.
Oh yeah, it's sort of
Yes.
funny when you
Glad
look
that's
at
what
like
made her back.
if you were back looking at Gilmore Girls, like which of these people is going to
Yeah.
have the most
Yeah.
success? Like
Right.
you wouldn't necessarily
It's the
say
chef.
Sookie,
It's Sookie.
but like Melissa McCarthy's, I mean, her comedic timing is unparalleled. Like she is just, she's so good. But like, was this really the only scene they could get her for?
This is what I assumed because she is so big now that maybe she is working all the time and it's impossible to
It
like.
was actually like they filmed a lot, most of Gilmore Girls already by the time they just got her back. So I felt like this was the scene that they just had to like add.
They said, but that like doesn't ring true to me at all. That like because the way they put it on the press, they like thought they couldn't get her, and then she's like, nobody reached out to my people, or her people said no, or something like that, like for her, and like you could like I actually would have rather this sequence with the cakes and everything come at the wedding or like in the like outside, like, and she just has all these cakes like lined up outside the gazebo, and it's just like, we have all of these. It's
Right.
like, they're all my wedding.
What I found interesting is like I loved how she's the one who's contributing to Lorelai and Luke's wedding, but also she wasn't even at the wedding.
Right, not
so
at
that makes
their
me,
night ceremony.
Yeah, so that again, I think that kind of helps me with my earlier point that like I felt like this was just the last minute addition because they finally got her back. We're like, we had to place the scene in somewhere.
Yeah, it threw off the wedding for me, like, which was very cute. I think that like Kirk did a great job. I screwed it all up. He like added
Very
a bunch
Kirk.
of stuff. Kirk and his pig. I've thrown up in both of these bathrooms. And, I thought it was like everything they did to build like with the lock was very cute, and like the setup was like exactly what their wedding was supposed to be, just in the town square.
You know,
Small and
What'd you guys-
intimate
yeah.
on the gazebo,
What'd
and I
you-
think
yeah.
it was very fitting.
Did this work for you?
yeah,
Haley?
it was cute, and I liked it, and I liked that they did a ceremony, you know, privately, sort of. But someone pointed out, or I read somewhere that like, because I know they showed the date, like Luke and Lorelai's wedding, November 5th.
They did,
and
yeah.
someone pointed out that like, oh, they on purpose made it before the election results
come
came
on.
out, like, when the world all went to crap.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. Because I wondered why'd they make it November 5th? They knew when their release date was. They could put any date on there, right? Like,
That's a. Ooh.
I'm just sad someone added politics to this.
Sorry.
So
Okay,
not
I take
needed.
it back. I take it back.
They're not wrong.
I know they're not wrong, but it's not needed.
No, but in terms of like, I don't think it was an intentionally as a statement.
No,
I think it was a like, well, if they were celebrating it on November 12th, they like,
Everyone would be bummed.
yeah, yeah. And I have friends that got married like days after the election, and so it was a very interesting experience for people. But regardless, moving on from that. I thought it was cute. I love the idea of them getting married before the ceremony,
Yeah.
and making it about them, because weddings, like everyone I know who's gotten married, like I'm not married, but everyone exactly. It's like, it's not as like everyone says, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's for everybody else. It's for your family. Like the wedding is for your family, but so like having a thing of it that's for you, and then having the one that's for everybody, that rings so true. But I think that they sort of made it weird by like who they had there.
Yeah.
Because if they were gonna do this, she absolutely would have called Sookie.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sookie would have been there.
They're still best friends.
They're still best friends. They established that in that scene.
April should have been there.
Not necessarily
you don't
April.
But like we had
It's Luke's
Michelle,
wedding.
we had Lane,
Well,
we had the Reverend.
she'll
and
be
Kirk.
at the wedding, and like Kirk is just there because he's
Whatever,
Kirk.
Yeah.
And actually, like, here's what I would have loved it to be, because I think having Lane and Michelle there is what threw it off, because like those characters are, of course, Lane is Rory's friend, and like like she's very close to Lorelai, but like why was she among those like small list of people? What I would have loved to see is just Luke, Lorelai, and Rory. And then maybe Kirk like running around in the background, like causing Kirk disturbance, because he's Kirk.
Yeah.
And that's, their wedding would not be perfect, so you have to have Kirk. But like, I think that would have been, and that was what I think when they talked about eloping, that was like they were like, can we like only if we can bring Rory.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what they did. They eloped the night before their wedding.
Yeah.
I liked how Rory was the one who walked Lorelai up to the gazebo.
Yeah.
I thought that was
She had to
very
give her
touching.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but-
Luke is friends with Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Right?
I really thought they were gonna get Kiefer Sutherland.
I know, when you mention it and it's like people keep showing up on the show, it seemed like, when's he arrive?
Oh, we also had the return of Miss Celine. Alex Borstein.
Oh yeah, that excited me. Alex Borstein.
At least you're here.
That was a nice little callback. We did like speak of other people that we ran into in this episode. Christopher
looking the same age as Rory.
Oh.
Holy crap.
He didn't age at all.
No, and so now I like,
I've been watching him for years on Hallmark.
like they look the same age
great.
now. He looks like, obviously because they had Rory, they were very young, but like, oh my God, I just, in that scene I was like, these two could be a couple. Like,
But you're not really. You're not wrong though. I think like
he looks great. He looks identical
He just
to how he looked.
Yeah.
didn't age.
But this scene with the revelation at the end makes a lot more sense, because Rory comes to talking to him about the book, but she's also talking to him about like, do you wish you'd been there? Did you need to be there? Should you have been there for your child?
So then it's definitely
Yeah, no.
I see now.
And it was that like, who is it supposed to, like, who is it, like, were you supposed to be? And he's like, this was exactly what was supposed to happen. And it's like, he's basically like saying like, he wishes he'd been there, but he wouldn't change anything that had happened. And that's sort of his, like, it's the thing, it's like life played out. It's sort of like a Buddhist mentality. It's like, life could have played out better, but this is how it played out, and that's what we just go forward from here.
I liked he was aware
Always
of that.
forward.
That self-realization and the fact that he's like, he realized defeat in this relationship. Because if you think about it, Luke's been there for Rory. Luke has been every bit of a father towards Rory.
Yeah,
and,
feeding them.
And I love that. But even their awkward goodbye and their awkward hug at the end just shows like they love each other as a father-daughter. But he, as much as we might like Christopher, he was never really there for her.
Did anybody want that? Did you guys want Christopher Lorelai to be together at any point?
There was a brief period, I think, when right before Gigi. I was this could work.
Yeah.
Like, this is nice. I think I was still like Lorelai and Luke, but there was a brief period where it's like, this could work. Like, I see why this could be a lasting thing between the two of them.
And you can also
which
see,
is
like,
why they blew it up.
Yeah, and you can also see, like, at one point you can believe that they were truly in love.
Yeah. And like, you get it. You get why. Which is what makes it so interesting when Rory stops the show by going, I'm pregnant. Blackout.
What?
Yeah. Oh my god.
But
Actually, it's not immediate blackout because I watched that last bit a
saw
couple of times.
Lorelai's
Lorelai
face.
turns and looks at her in profile, and I may be reading into it, but she looks horrified.
She
looks horrified.
she's shocked, just like everybody else. Well,
yeah,
the thing
I read shocked, not horrified.
Yeah,
I don't
but,
know.
like,
Look at it again.
I think it was shocked. Well, the thing is, I mean, because Lorelai's been through it, I think she'd be anything but supportive, and we also got that line from Lorelai. But the thing is that not once in this episode did they ever lead us to believe that she was going to be pregnant, other than like sleeping with Logan before their goodbyes. But
she just went on a binge drinking night.
I know, but like other television shows, other movies, other things we've seen, displaying stories, and we can obviously get to the point where, oh, that person's probably pregnant as a big bomb. Like, we can foresee that. This episode had no build-up to see that we foresaw this pregnancy coming.
I actually think that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I actually think that's why it worked. That's why it worked to me, because it was, just like it would have been for Rory, completely out of nowhere. Just like it was for Lorelai. And
But not just like it was for Lorelai, because she's a grown woman.
Yeah, it's not, well, that's the thing. It's not identical. It's not the exact same story. But there are a lot of parallels that they are setting up here, and I think that's they mentioned, I forget what scene it was in, that they talked about the circle of life in these. They mentioned it at some point in these episodes, but this is the circle of life, and especially for the Gilmores, it's like Rory is very much in the same place that like her mother was, like, not in age, so she's not like a teen mom. And not in the terms of relationship with her family. So but no. But she is she's gonna be a single mom in theory, with her, like, it's gotta be Logan's kid.
Yes.
We don't see her with any other guy.
Well, I think it's possible that during this episode she could have spent more time with Jess. But you're probably right. And now that you called out the like scene with Christopher, and even thinking about Jess looking at her through the window, is like they're setting up to be an exact mini of Christopher, Lorelai, and Luke.
Yeah, exactly.
And he will raise the kid, maybe Jess will raise the kid.
Because look, beautiful, like the classic musical cue coming in as Jess forlornly, longingly looks at Rory through a window, while very powerful, and I'm totally on board with that moment. You can't get pregnant from the look.
No, I know, but I
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing: is when he sees her at the Gazette and he gives her the idea for the book, I don't think she says like, "Great, I'm going to write this book." She's like considering it, and then he leaves. And then when you see her again, she like runs out to him and says like, "First 3 chapters." So like, does he know she was gonna write? I think they might have seen each other again in this time. I think it was possible.
Some Marie in the chat roll says there were also Paul and the Wookiee. She hasn't seen Paul in God knows how long.
Right.
He broke up with her via text.
The Wookiee was months ago.
Due to our conflicting schedules,
Yeah.
I think it's like finally
Good on you,
somebody
Paul. Yeah.
ended it.
Nice.
thank you, Paul. After almost
like, did
3
she ever even
years
talk
together,
to him? Or
no,
it's rude.
mean. It's not even rude. It's just mean.
Yeah, it's mean.
And the Wookiee, you're right, was too many months ago at this point, because that was during the summer. It's now November, so even if it was like August,
It was spring.
that's like,
it was during the spring, the Wookiee.
Oh, was that spring?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
end
that
of
was spring.
spring.
That was spring. So yeah, she would be like
would be showing.
6 to
She'd be
7
ready to
months
go,
along
yeah.
minimum. But yeah,
But
Yeah.
you know
That-
what, like,
yeah.
now knowing that Rory is pregnant and going back to the Christopher conversation
Yeah,
of, like,
that's
just
good.
her getting, like, from a male's perspective of not raising a daughter, like, how would that affect the guy who wasn't a part of someone's life? Like, he was fine with it. She accepted it. And now she's also just thinking maybe she won't have a father figure for her own child. You know, just like Christopher wasn't the father figure to her.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Rotor in the chat has just pointed out that like Rory turned down coffee when she went to see Christopher.
Nice
That
one.
should have been our first sign.
Nice.
A Gilmore girl turned down coffee.
That's right. Good call.
Yeah, because caffeine is supposed to be bad for
actually handed it to
pregnancy.
her
So
in
are
the
we-
shot.
Are we assuming the...
God.
Not to get too
was all in
specific,
front of us.
but are we assuming this must have happened because you mentioned that she went out binge drinking, but she did drink, right, when she was out with Logan and his friends? So
But I
Yeah.
don't
It
think
was
she
like a
knew
crazy
at that
night.
moment.
No, or
she
it could
definitely
have been
she definitely did not know
that night that they obviously slept
yeah,
together.
that may have been the conception night.
Great, that douche parade.
So there's a baby steampunk now. Boy. But like, to me, this is a bookend. It works because you shouldn't end the story. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of whether
Life
we're gonna get
goes
more or
on.
not,
Yeah.
life will continue.
Well, what I
And we're gonna we can sort of fill in the blanks, and like maybe like they're trying to set up a new like series in the vein of like Girl Meets World, where it's
don't do that, guys.
I'm
Don't
not
do
saying
that.
they should do
Please
it.
don't do
I'm
that.
not, because I don't like. Here's
Yeah,
the thing.
I know.
I was saying with somebody when I watched this, it's like I would watch it, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I don't know, and I think I've been like really hard on Rory's character in this, and I don't think she's, if they were to do that, enough to carry the show in the way that like Lauren Graham does. Like and they're different people. It would
No,
what would that show be of?
the
like,
characters bounce
Rory
well
and
off
Jess?
of each other,
Yeah,
but
it's a
like
balance.
there are too many
Individually.
plot lines that are in good places, like the thing with Emily where like Lorelai is going to start the spa now, and so she's borrowing money from her mother, and so
Has
we're
to
in the
go to
same
Nantucket,
we're
yep.
right back we're back in a very similar but not identical spot to where we were at the very beginning of the show, where it's like you come out for 2 weekends.
That's actually very
Nantucket.
doable agreements.
Yeah.
It's like you can do that.
Yeah. Nantucket.
So close.
I was also like, why is Emily has not left Nantucket for the wedding that is tomorrow morning? It is not easy to get from Nantucket to Connecticut. You got to either get on a boat or a plane. Like, there's not a bridge.
I'm surprised she doesn't have a private
She might have a
helicopter yet.
plane. Yeah,
She might. She
They're
might.
wealthy.
Either way, it's a lot of travel to get to. Usually you go stay over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your daughter has like an inn you could stay in or something like that.
Maybe that.
Housing.
But I do like where they sort of wrapped everybody up with this, even if like the details of how we got there sort of frustrated me at times. I think that the ending, like the pregnancy and like that stuff, all worked for me.
What I heard was, I can't remember where I heard this either, but I heard that originally they didn't know in the original series that it was going to be canceled, I think, and this is how Amy had wanted to end the series originally. So, and when you think about that, like,
Again, if
would
we're
have
reading
been
this as
different.
2 years after,
right,
so
it
if-
would have
if-
been different if she was younger, because even now, I mean, yes, no kidding, being a single mother is not easy at any age, I'm sure, but it's different if you're 20 versus if you're 30, right?
Yeah,
She
'cause-
is established as a an adult a bit.
She graduated in season 7, right? From college. So if they had ended or Amy Palladino wanted to end it at season 6. She didn't want to do 7. That was why she left the show. So if they had ended season 6 with like she has 1 year left of college and she's pregnant, like that's like only like a couple years difference between mom and daughter.
Yeah.
Cycle repeated. Yeah.
So
and just
sense,
just breaking up with Logan, all that stuff, like it works. I can totally see that. There is something that, all right. So the book, I want to talk about the book and the way that they throw it, because like Lorelai approved, like she's like, you can write the book, like, or like she's like, I trust you. Like she gives her back like the 3 chapters. You didn't read your daughter's book, Lorelai?
I love
and it's about you.
I love
you
the Social
eat that
Network reference. Drop the.
I know. I got mad. I got real mad.
I first saw the script and it said the Gilmore Girls, I was like, no, drop the. And then obviously 20 minutes later, we finally got that reference.
No, I didn't like this at all. This is not The Hobbit. You're not Bilbo Baggins. Like. I like the I'm all for like self-referential humor. This was so heavy-handed. Like the trope of the character wrote the story of the thing you've been watching is so overused.
It's tired. I agree.
I didn't like. I'm all for her writing about her own story, but that was a step too far. Just like because like, and it's in the font.
In the Gilmore Girls font.
It's like
I mean, of course it is.
Yeah, but like it was just too much for me. But yeah,
you're mad.
It was just like my first thought was like of The Hobbit. Like it's like J.R.R. Tolkien did this 100 years ago. But I like where we left everybody. I like where Rory is, that she's going to have to deal with this stuff. Jess is right nearby, and they're going to be working together, you know, because like she's going to go to him with the book, and he's got a publishing press.
Oh, yeah.
Wonder who's going to put out her book.
Yeah.
So they'll be working together closely a lot, and then Logan's going to be there trying to be like, no, I can help out. And she's like, no, I don't need you. And Jess is going to be like, look, here's some coffee that I got from, like, it's just like, you can see like he'll be behind his desk, and Rory will be in front of it, and he's handing her coffee, and it's just like, mirror. And it's cute. That's what I picture. That is
exactly
what happened after this show to me, and that part makes me happy. So ultimately, I liked where we wound up. Again, there were things that frustrated me along the way.
The difference in this is, unlike Lorelai's situation where like Christopher, although a teenager at the time, wanted to help, wanted to be involved as much as he could and help. I don't think Logan would want to. This would screw up his marriage to this heiress or whatever it is. You know, I don't. He's not going to be like, yes, let me raise this child with you. That's not on the table, I wouldn't think.
That's an interesting question. Because Logan, like, he seems to drop everything that's going on when Rory's in trouble. Short of like calling off marriages and whatever.
So, like, he's not a bad guy, and he'd probably send money, right? Like that's the Logan.
But you're right. He'd be like, I want to help, but I can't like
not publicly
be with you.
But yeah, I think that's the issue with Logan. Like, he can provide financial security, emotional security, questionable. There are moments where like he does support her. I mean, we saw the whole scene where she's like calling him out of reflex. It seems like Logan has always been there to say the right things at certain times, but he's so wrapped up in this already previous commitment with this Odette lady who we've never seen.
Who we never meet. Like, I would have liked to meet her.
And we probably won't see because she doesn't matter. But the fact is, I don't think, he has dropped stuff for her to come to Rory's aid, but I don't think he's at the point in his life where he would want to do this for a kid.
Yeah, I don't think it would be, let me raise this with you.
Yeah.
No?
Oh, I thought you were saying, let me raise this, like, point with you.
I'm speaking for Logan. Let me raise this child with you. I forgot a noun.
Yeah. No, you're right. But like ultimately, like so let's as we wrap out here on our Gilmore Girls after show. What are your final thoughts on a year in the life as a whole.
Well, obviously, we love it. We're talking about it. I'm glad that the show came back and we saw all the characters and people in this town that we fell in love with. They all, for the most part, came back. And we saw where their lives picked up and all that. It was fun. It had every emotional beat that you think you should in a television show. It moved some stories forward, whereas some people are stuck kind of in the past. But I think it was good, just let's get back into this town and these people and see what their lives are all about again. I loved it. It was fun. The stories in which they tried to move Rory forward and Lorelai. Like, I'm glad Lorelai finally got married. Rory, again, still, I'm just upset that we spent 4 episodes with Rory being in a rut and she's still in a rut after a year. I mean, sometimes it does take longer for people, but the fact that her life kind of still got more complicated after 4 episodes, you think it might end on a better note? It didn't. So, as a viewer... and as a loyal fan, it's frustrating, but it's good and left us wanting more.
Yeah. What about you, Hayley?
Overall, I liked it, and I'm kind of hard on the revival thing. As they're rebooting a lot of stuff, I was not crazy about the X-Files being rebooted. I think they should stop making Star Wars movies, etc.
Never.
I'm really hardline on it. Like, some things are allowed to, but I was like cautiously optimistic about this, and overall I do like it, and I did like where they ended it. I sort of like laugh, shout, cried when Rory was like, I'm pregnant, and I thought that was like that was a good way to end it. And the difference with some of these things is, like, it was easy to pick up with these people in a lot of ways because it's real life and we all age, so they're just older and have been living, and there's some maybe magical realism in the show, but other than that, it's just like a life, and now they're all older, so we get to just check in with where they're at. I liked it overall.
Yeah. I think I really liked the emotional beats that the characters hit. Like, the big emotional beats, for the most part, I think were right on for what they should be. Obviously, you've heard my frustrations about some of the specifics of how they got there. I think the show would have benefited from losing about a half hour off of each episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
like the musical portion of
like
Summer.
that, but like stuff like that. I think by tightening all of this up, you would have had a stronger show, because like losing Logan showing back up like in fall, like we got, and maybe the winter, spring, summer, fall like breakdown, while that's a very creative hook that I like, and is like a creative way to do a short season like this. Mm-hmm. I think it sort of put when you knew that you were going to end on this pregnancy thing, it like put you in a tough position where they needed Logan to show back up even after they gave him like the perfect out, because it was summer and you can't put off pregnancy announcement thing for 3 months, because it's just like that's too far along for her not to have known or told anyone. So I think that there were some of those choices sort of made it tougher for them to land what would have been the perfect way to do it. And some, like, this is just some of the things, like, when you have a revival like this, like the fact that like you didn't get Melissa McCarthy for whatever the reason it was, that you didn't have her for more than that one scene, sort of like that relationship is one of the tent poles of the series, and it felt like it was just missing. But like ultimately, I loved where they took us emotionally. I think that they set up a good like headcanon for everybody for what goes forward.
Totally.
In terms of just like where Jess is and like how we're gonna like see all their lives play out from here that we don't necessarily need to see. I don't need more. I don't need a season 9.
Are they planning? Do you know?
No, I don't believe they are.
I thought it was supposed to be this, but I don't know.
I think they left it like it's technically open because of that like open ending, but I think that was a creative point to like leave it open, because these character stories will never be over. Stories don't end like that, especially when you're dealing with a show that talks about generations of Gilmores, like from Emily right down to Rory, like then whatever her kid's gonna be named. I think that's how it will continue. And it will be a Gilmore because there's no way it's going to be a Huntsberger.
What if it's a boy?
Still going to be a Gilmore.
Yeah, that's right.
Gilmore.
Yeah, Huntsberger is
Gilmore
an
boys?
unfortunate last
Little
name.
Richard. Wait,
No.
not that one. Not that one. But like a Richard Jr., you know. All right. So,
good.
guys, I think that's going to do it. Yeah, people are saying they love
They
season
love
8.
it. They want more.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us for this look at a year in the life of Gilmore Girls. I've been your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me. Let me know your thoughts. Send me tweet your thoughts. I've been tweeting hashtag Zach Goes Gilmore for 3 months, and there's no more to tweet about. But like, tweet me your thoughts. I want to know what you guys all thought of the series. You can find me at that Zach Wilson, ThatzachWilson, and a whole bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, which you can find on my Twitter as well.
Yes, and you can follow me on Twitter at Serafini TV. I'm so glad that we got to talk about the show again.
Oh my god, if I hadn't been able to talk, I would have like boiled up. Like, so
And,
many things.
If you're ever in Los Angeles, I highly suggest you go to the VIP WB tour. You will see the
through Stars Hollow.
Lorelai house, Luke's diner. You'll see the gazebo. You'll see all of Stars Hollow. So do it.
And I am Hayley O'Connor on Twitter at Hayley O'Connor, Instagram at Hayleywood. And if you're dying for more Gilmore stuff, The New Yorker did an awesome parody of The Lottery set in Stars Hollow, which is really meta and appropriate in so many ways, so I would check it out.
That's awesome. All right, guys, this has been the Gilmore Girls After Show. Thank you for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.